Hey everyone, Game Park here, and today what I thought I'd do was something that I've actually haven't done before on the channel, and that is opening up a Sega Saturn so that we can replace the outer shell with a replacement one that I recently got. It is this extreme green color shell replacement for the Sega Saturn. So yeah, I was able to get this Japanese Model 2 Sega Saturn, and I also managed to get the shell over here. It's brand new, so what I'm gonna do is a shell swap. Basically, I'll be taking out the white one that we see over here and replacing it with this one. I'm not gonna go too in-depth in terms of the dismantling and cleaning and all those kinds of things, but I will show the process a little bit every now and then, particularly for things that I feel might be a little difficult to do. But I'll be following a video on the side, and then hopefully at the very end we can see the final product. This is my first time that I'll be doing this. Before, I've only done minor things like just like the top parts. As you can see, the Sega Saturn here is split into two parts. So other systems like the Dreamcast, I've only done like the top shell, and then I just left the bottom, everything inside exactly the same, because that's fairly easy to do. But this time I will be doing both the top shell and the bottom shell, and hopefully we get a really nice, cool looking extreme green Sega Saturn. But yeah, just for my sake and for purposes of being able to put everything back together, we're just looking at the Sega Saturn right here. Just kind of take a looking. It has a couple scuffs. It functions perfectly fine, but it is a little scuffed, and I think that's why I got it for cheap. Didn't come with any cables or a controller, but I have plenty of those kinds of things. But yeah, everything looks good here. It has the panel for the battery and the VCD card, if you have one of those, or the satiator. And then here's the bottom. Yeah, just a little scuffed. I'll also be cleaning the shell, this one, but I'll be doing that on my own just to kind of clean it up a little bit and have it in storage in case I ever need to put it back together. But yeah, I believe you start off with these screws here, right here, and I'll just go ahead and open it up and we'll see what we get. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at the Sega Saturn. Here's the shell that I'll be replacing it with, and here is the original Japanese one. So let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so I've gone ahead and removed all the screws from the bottom, as you can see right here. It's a fairly simple process. I also got this towel because one thing that I notice a lot of people who show how to disassemble electronics, they put their screws and then they're just kind of like flying all over the place. So using a towel or some type of padding that's gonna like prevent movement or of the screws is really important, because you want to be able to put everything back together, especially for these types of cases which don't have any screws. They don't come with anything like that, so you need to use the same screws. You don't want to be missing anything. But yeah, the Sega Saturn is fairly easy to disassemble at the beginning. So you have the a screw here, a screw right over here in the corner. You have one right here on the bottom, and then right here, and then also the two screws right here for the port. So this one and this one. And then after you remove all those, which is a total of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 screws, using a standard Phillips screwdriver, you should be able to lift it up without too much fuss. And there you go. So now we have remove the lid, and we have the inside here. I don't see any nasty bugs or too much issues in terms of dirt and things like that, so that's great. Like I said before, I tested it before and the system worked perfectly fine. So essentially, this is the very first time that I'm actually opening up the case here, but we can just take a quick preview essentially of what the system would look like by hopefully taking the system. Oh, I see some things are moving around in there. Taking the lid from the eXtreme green system and putting it over here. It will look, if it fits in, it'll look something like this. Let me see if it'll position itself nicely with the system. Might just be because the shell, the way it's designed, might not be exactly compatible with the white one. You know, we're kind of Frankensteining parts, but it'll be essentially like this, you know, which is pretty cool. But like I said, I will be changing out the bottom part. But yeah, that's pretty much the way that is. This power button, I have the main one over here, so it'll be cool. I don't know, I kind of actually like the gray power buttons like this. I was kind of thinking maybe just to give it a bit of an accent, maybe taking the pink one and putting it here, but I'll think about it. You know, I can also do the gray cartridge port for the top over on the green one, but I don't know. Well, we'll see how I feel later. But for now, that's that. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go into the deep nitty-gritty here and see what screws I have to undo, taking apart the ribbon cables and the connectors so that we can remove the motherboard and all the internal components and use our bottom shelf, this one right here, the bottom shell. So I'm gonna get started on that, and I will report on any difficult issues that I might be having. Hopefully it's not too bad, and we'll see what happens. So yeah. Alrighty, so really quick note, removing the power supply, which is over here on the left side if you're facing the system forward, that one's really easy. All you have to do is just remove one of the screws and then it lifts right up. But what I'm having a hard time with is the disk drive here. There's a ribbon cable here on the right side. All you have to do is just pull up either on this side or pull up on this one. I just decided to go on this one because it felt like there was less resistance from the right side. And then the next part that I had to do was this green one over here. This one was really tough. So I'm looking at some other disassembly videos, and most people were able to just kind of like just wiggle it a little bit and then lift right up. But for mine, it was super tight. So I actually had to, you know, kind of move it over on my lap and just be very careful because, you know, these wires are just so thin. I didn't want to like accidentally pull it off from the connecting port. But yeah, you just kind of have to basically put your fingernail underneath and pull from the green part as opposed to the wires. I didn't want to be tugging on the wires because they look so you know, fragile. But eventually just kind of let me see if I could show it a little better. It has like these like teeth on the back side. I just put my my thumbnail underneath that, and then I just pulled upwards because, as you can see, it's, you know, a couple of connectors in there that are like pins. So if you pull it to the side, you risk bending those pins. So yeah, just as a quick note for future people who may want to disassemble a Saturn, make sure that you're pulling up and try to get try to dig it out with your nail on the green part, as opposed to the wires. You do not want to pull on the wires. But yeah, once you do that, hopefully, if I'm doing this right, this should be able to pull right up slowly. Oh, here, move this to the side. All right, slowly you lift this one up, not too roughly, because here we have another cable that we're going to remove that. And then if we unscrew this one like so, I'm holding the whole disk drive with my other hand, hopefully lifting that up, then we can remove the disk drive and this cable, which is holding on through the magnets. So I'm gonna put this down over here to the side, and then put this cable right over here like so. And now we can move on to the next part. So yeah, definitely this green thing has been the trickiest part of everything so far. I'm gonna continue to see what the next step is, and I'll comment on that. Alright, so I went ahead and removed all the screws around the metal plate here. Once you do so, you can just lift it up very carefully. I might put it over here for now. And here we have the motherboard. All the screws, you have to be very careful because they are different sizes. So I kind of just put them all around the towel that I have here, just to kind of remember where they are, because you do not want to mix them. So for example, the ones on the front and the ones from the side are different sizes. So these are longer, and the ones in the sides over here are medium sized. So the good thing is that, for example, for the power supply, the screws on these sides, they don't need to be disassembled. All I'm doing is just trying to remove the internal so that I can replace it with the new shell. So this whole component can just be removed as is, so you don't have to go into that part. But yeah, and then aside from that, you have your battery over here on the side, which you can just pull up, and then you can remove this little plastic part over here. So yeah, very careful. Remember where all the screws are, because they are different sizes. If you mix and match, you might get some shifting parts inside, and then you won't have a properly functioning or properly put back together Sega Saturn. So yeah, the next part, I don't know if I can just pull this up like so. I can see that there's some dirt over there, but nothing that's gonna affect it. Maybe that might be all there needs to be done here. I'm just trying to be very careful, making sure if I can lift this part, because I'm feeling some resistance, but I don't want to damage anything. Maybe it looks like the controller ports are the ones that are sticking out and keeping everything in there. So give me a second. I want to make sure that I do this properly and don't yank anything, and I'll be right back. Yeah, so actually, basically, once you remove all the screws, all I did was just push inwards from the controller port while holding on to the memory card over here, the memory port, and then it should be good to go. Hopefully there's no nasty stuff over here, but there we have, this is the motherboard. We'll just put it over here to the side for a bit. Just be very careful in your placement. And here we have the IO shielding. So this is supposed to protect the motherboard from all sorts of things that could fall in there, like dirt or whatever. But because we're using a transparent case, I'm actually not going to be using this. I looked and researched online, this is just the shielding, that this is not really necessary. This is literally just for mainly just protecting the motherboard from getting dirt. And so if I place this with the shielding, it's just gonna be preventing us from looking at the circuitry of the motherboard, which is kind of the purpose of a shell. So we want to be able to make sure that we can see all the cool circuitry through the shell over there. But yeah, once that's done, that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna waste any more time with this one over here. I will clean it, but that's for later. So I'm going to just put this one over here, put it away for a bit, and we're gonna jump into installing all the components of this case into the other replacement shell. So let's do that. All right, if we bring our, I'll put the motherboard over here for a second. If we bring our shell over here, we're just going to be reversing the process. Hopefully it is not too difficult. Let's see, can we just go ahead and plop it on in there? Let's see, very carefully, going ahead and finding the right positions for everything. You can see over here that there's the AV input. There we go. Alrighty. Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna hold it down just so I can kind of show you guys what I was talking about. but hopefully nothing falls over here. Holding it tightly, that's what we want to see, right? So if I had installed the IO shielding, you're not gonna be able to see any of these things over here, right? And we want it to be cool. I'll be really careful with it, making sure that, you know, no plastic goes into it, but I think we'll be okay, right? So yeah, just going off that, it's already looking super awesome. Let's see if I can remember where everything goes. This one goes right here, making sure that everything clips, like so. There we go. I'll save the battery for later. I have to check if this one, I think it's still working, but yeah. Now I think I'll just go ahead and clean this one up. I'm gonna blow you know, some compressed air on the shieldings and everything just to make sure everything is clean, and then we'll continue from there. Alrighty, so I'm about halfway through assembling it back. It has been pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy or difficult, but I do want to mention that this screw right here that's closest to the lens, it has a little washer and it's very small and very short. So just make sure that you have first the ribbon on the up in the top part before I had it underneath, but I remember that it goes on the top and that it's the one that's closest to the laser, and that you don't lose the washer, because if you lose that little washer underneath, it's gonna fall through like the little cracks and then you're gonna have to, you know, take everything apart and all the other screws. But yeah, so far that's been good. I was able to, you know, make sure that the ribbon is on there real straight. So right now I'm finishing up. I believe the only screws I have left are the ones for the controller ports, and then I will be you know, putting the outside ones. Oh yeah, I gotta make sure to make that connect that connector there. Well, this one's giving me a little bit of trouble. Just gotta make sure I do it somewhat gently. I don't want to bend the board or crack the case. Another shell. Alrighty. Yeah, and one of my biggest fears just straight up when doing any sort of, you know, internal openings and things like that are, what's it called? You know, just scraping the screws, you know. I don't want to accidentally, you know, ruin the screw. So yeah, that's something that I always keep in mind. You don't want to wear it out and then it doesn't work anymore. For some reason, this one over here is giving me a little problem. It's not going in. You got to apply a little more pressure, like so. Okay, that seems good enough. Now this one over here, and when I'm done with that, I believe I will connect the connector right here, put the power supply back on, and we should be good. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back right before we apply the top shell. Alrighty, so I think I managed to put all the screws back together where they belong. I'm gonna give it just a very gentle shake to make sure that nothing is rattling, but yeah, I mean, it sounds really sturdy. Everything looks like it's in its proper place. So just real quick, I'm gonna just put the top shelf to make sure that it can actually clamp down, and then all I'll have are the final screws over here on the side. And hopefully everything is okay. Hopefully I aligned the power button there so that it can actually go through. Let me see how, or maybe it's just kind of like this. Yeah, because maybe in the back it's got a bit of a gap. Let me see if I can adjust that a little. There we go. Alrighty. yeah, so if we look at here, doesn't look like there's anything that's like too bad. Let me maybe in this corner right here. Yeah, I mean, let's just compare with the original shell. So I have the original shell, and it does have, the Sega Saturn does have quite a large gap between the top and the bottom shell, so it is normal. Yeah, never mind. We'll put that. This is basically our system right here, guys. Everything is opening normal. Doesn't look like, maybe the disc spindle is a little high, but I mean, I think it should be okay. Let's see, I'm just gonna put a disc in there and see if it's scraping. But no, I think it's okay. If we spin it and close it, does it make contact? No, it doesn't. You don't want any contact with that. Perfect. Okay, well, let's go ahead and put the final screws on there, and we'll do a little test at the very end. Alright, so here I am installing the last screw on the shell, and as you can see in the back, I just prepared my TV and some accessories so that we can see if everything worked properly. So let me just get this last one in there. Yeah, you do have to apply a little bit of pressure, but should be all right. And you can I'm trying to be careful so that I don't strip the screws, but there we go. All right, so that is the last screw. Here we have our system just on its own. I decided to leave the power button, the gray one, just to kind of have something from the previous, shell on here, but it looks fantastic. Look at this. You can see the circuitry, everything on the back matches very well. Overall, it was a pretty simple process. And because I removed the shielding, you can see all the motherboard there, which is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to just be covered by some sheet, but it looks beautiful. So what do we say we test it out, see if it works? Here I brought my Retrobit wireless Sega Saturn controller. It's official as well. I mean, I think it looks really nice with the system here to see through electronics. Let's go ahead and plug the adapter in. We'll plug in our connections on the back. Whoops. Here we'll do the power. I mean the AV, and then the power supply over here. All right, here we have our system right there. Let's go ahead and insert a game. I brought this Street Fighter Zero Japanese version because this is a Japanese system. Perfect. And moment of truth. Let's see if this works. Spinning, and we got something on the screen. Beautiful. Alrighty, let me see. You gotta sync the controller first. There we go. All right, we'll exit that. Fantastic. Does it boot up? It should boot up into the discs. Oh my goodness. So now we have our Sega Saturn with the extreme green color. I'll try not to move it because it has a disc. You shouldn't really move electronics when they're all in there, but everything looks fantastic. We have our system here, have the old shell over there. I'm gonna clean that one up and store it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me see if I can just move this a little further. Bring this one over to the side. Hopefully it doesn't. There we go. What do you guys think of the extreme green Sega Saturn case? Here with our controller, Street Fighter Zero. Everything looks fantastic. Oh yes, I'm very satisfied. Let's just make sure that the controller ports work completely. I mean, they should, because we were just in that the startup menu for the system. Everything seems to be working just fine. Beautiful. But yeah, I think that's actually gonna do it for this little experiment here. I managed to not break my system and install a brand new shell. Like I said, this is not something that I usually do. I'm not very experienced with this kind of stuff, but if I was able to do it, I'm pretty sure you guys can too. As long as you keep track of all the screws and you don't pull on any of the wires too hard, you should be able to do it as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think of this extreme green Sega Saturn. I'm really glad that I was able to get the Saturn in the back for so cheap. And now I have a brand new, beautiful looking shell. But yeah, thank you again so much. Leave a like. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. You want to see more content like this. And I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.